Hi, my name is Andre Segara, and I'm a variety gamer. My main game is Magic the Gathering, but I do like to play a lot of other games. If you do know me from Magic, you probably recognize me as that Spirits player, or just from around the Star City Games tournament series. I am also into Dance Dance Revolution, Hearthstone, Shadowverse, Pokemon, and I'll occasionally play some retro games as well, even though, not very good at those, so don't expect any speedrunning. I do like to learn other games as well, like League of Legends, Call of Duty, or whatever else I feel like playing that day. So, thank you so much, and if you do like what you see, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so that you can be aware of all of my videos. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Yo, what's good, Spirit Squad? And today we are checking out a bit of Pioneer. Earlier we went ahead, played a Bant list in Modern, and it was super sweet, so we decided to run that back and play Bant in Pioneer because we just wanted a lot more points for the weekend because there's a Pioneer Super Qualifier this weekend. I wanted to get my feet back into the format a little bit, and of course getting to 40 points if we decide to play a prelim and do well is always nice. And if we check a look at the meta right now, I believe that Spirits is once again in a really, really sick spot in the meta. So check this out. I'm pulling back up to Goldfish here, and this is Pioneer right now. So we're looking at Mono-Black Aggro is almost 15% of the meta, and this like Saram enchantment deck with a bunch of 1-drops and 2-drops is all things that either Nebelgast Herald or Shacklegeist beat by themselves. Like, this entire deck is almost entirely cold to just repeatable tap effects. So, like, one-time tap effects, sure, they have, like, Karametra's Blessing, they have, like, the Protection Alceids and stuff like that, but we just honestly kicked the crap out of both of these decks because we can do something to make them non-able to attack basically every turn if we feel like it. And almost every other deck in the format is cold to like one counter spell. So like four color Omnath, Bring to Light decks, Wilderness Reclamation, Lotus Combo, all of those are relatively cold to just like a counter spell when you have a clock on the table. Rakdos Pyromancer, this sucks. We don't want to play against this. And Esper Control is like fine. But again, Jeskai Luca, usually cold to a counter spell. Gruul mid-range, this deck is decent, but Aether Gust exists, so I don't know that this is the best deck to be playing for people right now. That's us. Hi, Spirits, we love you. Naya Winota, that's another matchup that honestly does suck. This is annoying. Mono White, I don't know. This goes back and forth. So like Brave the Elements itself is really, really, really good. But honestly, other than that, we win this and it's. I'm not gonna say it's free, but it's pretty good for us, especially when we check out the sideboard in a couple seconds too. Blue-red spells, meh, it's fine. And then like the version of Charbelcher that exists in Pioneer is very cool, and we can even take a look at it. So this isn't actually like Charbelcher though. It just happens to play like a bunch of land hybrid spells instead of actual lands, so that you can still do Balustrade Spy and Undercity, and you get to do those things, dump over your deck, Creeping Chill, like just infinites people, and they don't get access to like Vengevine or Salvage Titan. So what they're doing instead is playing like Prized Amalgams and Silver Smoke Ghouls, and those are way, way, way slower than anything else that's really happening here. So if they can't like clear us out with a Thoughtseize, then a counter spell solves this deck too. So this is basically where we want to be most of the time. So check out what we got going on in the main here. So we've got 6 1-drops because we want to have 4 copies of Lofty Denial up, but we're also playing Collected Company, so we really don't want too many underpowered creatures, but we do want some number of things that enable a turn 2 Lofty Denial as often as possible. We've also got a million great 2-drops. Here we actually want to be on Selfless Spirit, unlike in Modern, because there's a lot more access to like Supreme Verdict and stuff like that, and blocking is a lot more relevant in this format than it is in Modern, thanks to Spirits just also being a tiered deck there, and a lot of creature decks existing. We already saw that the top 2 decks are both small creature decks, which actually have the ability to get into combat with us being Mono Black and Auras. So a good, well-timed Selfless Spirit wins us combat a lot of the time. And then everything else is pretty normal here. We've got Rattle Chains, 2 Shacklegeist, which I absolutely love, Supreme Phantoms, Empyrean Eagle. I still hate this card, but Collect the Company is great with Lord effects, and we don't get to play Drogsko Captain, so I still want like 2 of this effect. Spell Queller, still great. 1 Glasspool Mimic, because it doubles as a 24th land, and it's a great Collect the Company target. So it's just it pulls double duty, and I don't necessarily like it so much in Modern, but here it pulls a lot of weight because we just want the extra land since we don't get to play Hierarch here, and we just want another really solid hit off of Collect the Company, and that's the job that Phantasmal Image pulls in Pioneer. We don't get to play Phantasmal or Noble Hierarch here, so Glasspool Mimic it is. And then 2 copies of Skyclave Apparition just kind of round it out. It's a great card, it kills a lot of very relevant stuff, up to including like Wilderness Reclamation, it kills like Rankle, it just does really, really, really does solid work here. And the board, this is where I like to think all the fun lives. So we've got 3 copies of Isolate, and this card is nutters. Yes, it only exiles things with exactly CMC1, but that's a large chunk of the format. Going back to the meta list here, that means that it actually chunks out basically 3/4 of the Mono-Black deck. It kills most of the threats they're actually putting things on. Not from the green-white version, because like this is annoying, and Glade Cover Scout has hexproof, but it does kill all of the auras itself, so like if you have somebody with a Glade Cover Scout on, they're trying to be all extra cute and attack you, you go, okay, I'm going to exile like your Ethereal Armor and block and kill this thing. Now their life sucks. And a black-white version is almost stone cold to something that kills their 12 1-drops here. So that's really, really obnoxious for them to deal with, and honestly, they're just not fans. It also, oops, what was that all about? Yeah, like it kills all of this, it kills all of this. What else? It kills like all of this too. And all of those are very, very big deals. So we just want to like solidify our matchups against what, almost 30% of the meta between those 3 decks alone. Disdainful Stroke takes care of everything that Isolate doesn't, which I think is a nice little sweet spot to be in, where if we want to go little, we can go little. If we want to go big, we can go huge. We've got 4 Mystical Disputes because this card is just actual gas. It's great in the mirror, it's great against all of the Uro Omnath nonsense that's happening, and it's pretty good against like the control decks and stuff too, so we like that. Skyclave Apparition, nobody needs to know how good this card is. We already know. It's fantastic. It's everything dreams and wishes could ever be. And while I'm still on and off it in Modern because of the specific threats that are existing in Modern that Skyclave can't kill, sometimes there I still like to switch between Skyclave and Deputy depending on what I think I'm going to face that day. But Skyclave here is insane. Like, it's really good. Like, I'm not playing Brazen Borrower, where I absolutely loved that card in other decks, because this card just solves all the problems. A Nimble Obstructionist is not only a Collect the Company target, but it also hard counters anything like Undercity Informer or Balustrade Spy. If you don't have like a counter spell, this is still just like a good effect on that. And it also stops Thassa's Oracle from being able to kill you. So these are all going to be like things to take notice of. Gideon, just really good. If you're playing against either a Thoughtseize deck or a control deck, this thing will just take over the game on its own once both you and your opponent are low on resources. So the card's just really solid there. And then Settle the Wreckage, once again, is very good against the same decks that Isolate is decent against. So this helps against the Aura matchup where, oh, okay, I can't target your creatures because you have a Glade Cover Scout. Cool, I'll target you. Against Mono-Black, oh, okay, well, like Rankle and Spawn of Mayhem suck. Well, I don't. Here's a Settle the Wreckage. And the same thing goes for the mono-white deck. If they're like, oh, well, here's all these attacks, you line up a bunch of blocks, they go Brave the Elements, they think they're going to win combat, bam, Settle the Wreckage, their deck sucks. And these are all just, like, very sweet things that I like in the format. So now that we do know what we're playing in both the main and the board, we're going to go ahead and check out the matches that we just went over in the prelim and see how we did. Alright, so we got round 1. We win a die roll here, and let's check out our hand. So we got 2 lands, which isn't a ton, but we do have double Collect the Company. We got Counterspell, Rattle Chains. This card is not that bad when we have Rattle Chains on the table. So let's at least see what happens here. Alright, so we're playing against Mono-Black, and as we saw earlier, this deck is like 15% of the meta, so this is going to be something that we're looking at quite often here. So we can actually deal with this though. So like a Scrap Heap Scrounger, their attackers are annoying, but honestly not the end of the world. We do have both Counterspell and a potential Empyrean Eagle up though, so like this ain't even all that bad. So we could threaten to like flash into Eagle and eat their bro, but here honestly like it was also better to just hold up the Counterspell. So here we can just hold up Collect the Company, chill for a bit. Like this, however, is a really dope interaction. So like we get to both eat their Scrap Heap Scrounger and use Shacklegeist to tap down this thing, so they don't get to like play this thing. Thank you. I was trying to think of Spawn of Mayhem's name. They don't get to play like Spawn of Mayhem plus another card. In here, we don't have to like do anything with Glasspool Mimic. We can just like, you know, nug this thing for a little bit, and that can just do whatever it wants. And if they're going to play Murderous Rider, now we can just like Lofty plus instant speed Selfless, and this is a really, really sick little piece of interaction here. So they're going to do that, they're going to do their things. We get to keep the Shacklegeist up, which is pretty important for tapping down this Spawn of Mayhem, and life is really, really good for us, because even though we're at 5, look at this mess. Now we get to Skyclave this thing, we get to use Shacklegeist to tap down this Dread Wanderer, and even though they still have cards in hand, we're really ridiculously far ahead. Yeah, so this is where they pack it up, because like they need to have a third piece of removal just to interact with these guys, and assuming they can interact with these, they're already at 2, so we can just like, you know, fly over them, especially with a Spectral Sailor in hand, so we can like flash, Shacklegeist, tap this thing, plus whatever else they play. I don't know, say they play like Rankle or something else. So that was actually a really, really sick game one for us. And as we went over earlier, we're going to go ahead, we're going to side in those Isolates, we're going to side in those Settle the Wreckages, we get to put in the Gideon, and out comes some useless cards. Like Loft to Denial is fine, but not ultra fantastic, and Spell Queller against like a mono removal deck is not really where we want to be. So we get to put in all of those things, we get to max out to 4 Skyclaves, and yeah, let's check out game 2. Alright, so we got game 2 against Mono Black here, and here, granted, it is weak to Thoughtseize, but other than exactly Thoughtseize, which they probably don't keep in against us, this hand is pretty lit. So really our only job here is to like not take damage and get to turn 4, and if they're spending most of their turns like, you know, just removing our smaller threats, by the time our smaller threats are no longer small, we get to just like do things like this. Like now we have 2 Collected Companies, they're doing some damage to us, but honestly whatever. And if they're going to be stuck on lands, then our Collected Companies go from being pretty good to actually being insane. So here we're going to take that, we're going to see what happens with the Spawn Mayhem, and we're going to see if we can't roll into this Skyclave apparition here. And we do roll into one, so that's really exciting. And here we have another Collected Company, so this is just ultra gravy. So that's whatever, we'll take this attack. Who cares? And we have, yeah, another company to just kind of get all the way up out of here. Yeah, like this is nuts. And another company just in case. But yeah. Like, look at all of this. Like, this is actually absurd. So that's going to be a relatively easy 2-0, even though we don't see any sideboard cards, except potentially an increased number of Skyclave apparitions. And almost no matter what we did with this Glasspool Mimic, it was going to be nuts. So, yeah, that was a really, really sick match for us. And, yeah, let's move to round 2. Yo, so we got round 2 now, and we win a die roll, and we've actually played this person before. So Traft, like myself, is I guess another Spirits main, and last time we played against this person, they were on Blue-White Spirits, and that was like a month and a half ago though. So let's see what happens here. And here, alright, so we've got like a lovely little battle here, but Watch of the Spears is actually ultra dangerous, and I'm a little sad that, like, or not sad, I'm sorry, I'm a little happy that we got to be on to play this game, because, like, them untapping with this thing is actually really sick. This is, yeah, I was gonna say, I'm actually surprised that they didn't have their own Queller here, because they basically hard signaled that they did, but that was just something we were at least willing to try out. So now they have a 3/3, which we planned for, a Supreme Phantom, which is annoying, but we can get around that. And this is actually not that bad. It's annoying, but like we each have a Spectral Sailor, but I'm the one with 4 lands in play, so it's not ultra safe, but I can at least depend on myself to be able to draw cards, while they currently cannot. So we're at least able to trust our deck to eventually get us up on cards. We are slightly behind on the table, but honestly, that's not that bad. So we'll just continue to play a little safely here. We'll get more cards in play. Now we have 6 lands. So each turn, 6 lands means that we can play like a 2-drop threat plus drawing a card here, and that's a little scary. But like them not having the 4th land until just now, that meant that we got to do a lot of really good work with just them definitely not being able to draw cards and play a threat, while we can both draw a card and play a threat. And here, we'll just know that we are up on cards and we have access to Collected Company where they don't. So we will eventually just be able to outpace them on the table as long as we can keep the table clean-ish. Oh, and there's our namesake, so that's pretty exciting. So they do still have 2 cards in hand though, so we have to be a little careful. But at the very least, yikes. We don't like that. Okay, so now they're like trying to ultra gang us here, and that's a little scary, but that's honestly fine. So here we're just gonna go ahead and like rattle chains out to try to help negate that Nebelgast Herald's effect. But look at all that's happening here. So they do finally get to tap down our guy here, but Selfless Spirit is already going to get sacrificed to the block here. So check this out. We get to eat Spectral Sailor, double block into this Watcher. We know they don't have any cards in hand. We get to block the other Spectral Sailor as well, and then not take damage here. So this is a really, really sick little piece of line here. And once all of this blocking is done, we'll even get to use Shacklegeist to start tapping down things too. So this is honestly very, very good for us. And then end of turn, we're going to just use the Shacklegeist to tap down some guys. And now that we know they don't really have much of anything, we'll just play out all of our creatures and then tap down these with our smallest things, and then we get to attack for 4, 8, 12, 16. So yeah, that was honestly pretty scary, because them with Watcher on the and untapping with Watcher can lead to some really, really busted turns. But yeah, let's move on to round 2, or game 2. And game 2 is actually, and 3, are actually not bad at all for us, because we have all 4 of those mystical disputes in the board. So those are like these, but those are really exciting. And this hand's not that bad. Like, a Collected Company is a little hard to resolve if they have a Mausoleum Wanderer. But all things considered, this isn't that bad. So yeah, but them just getting a bunch of 4/4s is pretty sick. So we would rather have Supreme Phantom than a what's that card? Mausoleum Wanderer. And they still have 2 cards in hand, so we're not about to walk into just like getting bodied by all of this. But them having specifically Mausoleum Wanderer and us having a Coco as far as like the major threat in hand goes is a little suspect, but we're gonna at least try. This is rough. Yeah, so here they're just going to go ahead and do their thing, and we're effectively going to use Collected Company as an attempt to try to, like, yeah, that's basically a 4-mana removal spell for their Mausoleum Wanderer. And here at least the table is even-ish, so we can at least try. Okay. And a Watcher, that's going to resolve. We can't do much about that. So we... Oh, yeah, okay. So, yeah, we're basically guaranteeing that we get this Watcher off at only the cost of our Selfless Spirit. So, that's pretty decent. And here, we're going to just tap a bunch of guys down in hopes that we can eventually get that, at least 1 or 2 creatures off. And we'll eventually try to resolve this Collected Company once they run out of cards. But with their Spectral Sailor still being on the table, them running out of cards is going to be pretty difficult here. Oh, yep, okay. That's actually a shame concede. Granted, we were probably not going to get out of this game anyway, so, like, it was a fine concede. But me not casting this Dispute and then realizing what a dummy I am, I just go ahead and shame concede here because, yeah, that was definitely a feels bad. So, whoops. But let's go ahead and move on to game 3. Alright, so here we're going to get to go ahead and play first, and our hand here, while not being, like, extra good, for being on the play with this line, it's pretty damn good. So we're definitely going to be at least happy about getting that and getting that on the play. And we're just going to go ahead and just start attacking them, and basically they've got the same lines as we do, though, which is pretty sweet on their end, except here we have the option of just going like Spectral Sailor end of turn or holding up Spell Queller, so we certainly don't mind that at all. And the reason we don't block this 2-2 with the Supreme Phantom is because if they had exactly a Rattle Chains, then we already had that covered with Spell Queller. But if they had exactly Spectral Sailor plus Spectral Sailor with the 2 blue mana up before they played this land, then what we would have ended up having to do is playing our Spell Queller, getting it walked into either a Mystical Dispute or just letting it resolve, and then they play a second Spectral Sailor and make this a 3/3 and just body our Lord for free. So I think taking that 2 damage was definitely better than trying to walk ourselves into a card there. And here, this is actually pretty nice. So it's definitely true that we don't have access to, what am I looking for? We don't have access to a 5th mana, so we can't play like Spell Queller and hold up one of these, but like we can play both of these post combat, so like this is fine. And this here, we're not gonna mess around with any tricks they have, so we're just gonna let them do whatever stupid little tricks they want. And this is nice. So we have a little bit of aggro potential here, and that Empyrean Eagle is definitely about to get Spell Quellered, so we're just not dealing with that. And now they know that they don't want to block here though, so they definitely did like more for like the knowledge than anything else, but our draw is pretty powerful. So I suspect that they were playing the Watchers in the places where I'm playing the Apparitions. Otherwise, like having this be Apparitioned is a really, really scary line. But yeah, Shacklegeist is really, really good, as we've seen in both of our matches now. I'm sorry, both of our games, with them having won last game, us having won this game. And yeah, we move on to 2-0 against a pretty accomplished, also a Spirits player. So good job to us. Alright, so we got round 3, and we did not win a die roll, but our hand is... Oh, this is ultra slow. So if we get any island or any plains, this is actually pretty good. But here, this has some potential to betray us, and we need to make sure that we have this hand relatively quickly too. So, if this was Dread Wanderer, I think we do block. But oops, that was a mistake. I wanted to attack. If this was a Dread Wanderer, we do block, but since this was a Blood Soaked, we really can't. And unfortunately, we did not get the land we really needed here to make this work, so that sucked. But here, this is ugly. Oh god, look at us getting wrecked. And yeah, and we don't even draw the fourth land for our potential collected company, so we're just gonna pack it up here. Like a collected company would have been pretty decent because even at 8 life, we could have hit like, I don't know, like Shacklegeist Apparition or something similar, and that by itself might have been enough to carry this game for us for free. But that is not what happened, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and pack this one right up, and we're gonna go with the same boarding plan as we did in round 1. So let's move to game 2. And this time we get to play first. And, oh yeah, this is lit. So, not only did our poor opponent mulligan here, but we also have like 1-drop into great 2-drop into great 3-drop. And if our lands that we draw or whatever we draw alters our plan, we get an isolate. So this is really, really absurd. So let's go ahead and start off with our Wanderer and then see what our opponent can come up with. And that's actually not even that scary until they have mana to make this work, or friends to make this work. So we are going to try to counter that, but they do have the second Fatal Push, so all things considered, this is fine. But we have a 2-drop here, so we get to 2-drop plus Isolate, and what we wanted to do there was to see if they were going to use mana to pump the Knight so that we could then use the Isolate. But they had the spawn, so we get to just like use Skyclave Apparition instead, and either way their life is pretty miserable. So we have a board, they don't have a board, and yeah, we'll eat the Harvester as well. So, and that's annoying since they're going to make us discard our Coco, but we already don't have our green land to play anyway, so honestly, what do we care? But here, this is pretty decent. So we get to use Shacklegeist, tap down Rankle, make sure they don't get to actually participate or do the things, and that card wasn't a removal spell. So while it can get annoying to look at this isn't that bad because we're still at 11. So like we can use our Skyclaves, tap down to Rankle, and Knight by itself isn't good enough to beat this board. So they're going to pack it up, and we're going to move to game 3. So now they get to be on the play, except our hand here is medium, but to be completely honest, since we are playing 4 copies of Collected Company in our deck, this is a hand that I'm actually kind of comfortable keeping. Reason being, we have all the perfect mana that we need. So we can like turn 1 play this tapped, turn 2 play this, turn 3 play this as a white source, and that enables us to play Shacklegeist on time, Skyclave on time, and anything else we draw, while at the same time making sure that we don't take pain for any of our lands. We get to tap down their potential bigger threats, kill one of them while we're at it, and they mulligan to 6, so we get to be up a card and have the ability to draw into Collected Company. So I think that's all good reasons for us to keep this kind of greedy but still keepable hand. Oh, and an Isolate now on top of everything else. So I don't know that I like the order that I played this in, but I still like playing all of the cards that we have access to. And look at that, we drew a Collected Company. So our plan for now is at least shaping up pretty well. So they know that we have these cards now, which honestly is whatever. But I think this is a little bit of a mess up on our part here, because now we have to take 2 damage if we want to play this Hallowed Fountain, and that's 2 damage that we did not need to take. So the line I talked about was definitely better than the line I actually went with. So, I don't know. Oops. But now they have 2 cards to our Collected Company and removal spell and potential more than 1 or 2 for 1s. So this is a really, really good spot for us to be in. And that Isolate's going to rock pretty hard against this too. So here, we decide to not try to use Coco as a potential counterspell. But here, yeah, like this rocks. We get to just we don't need to press any buttons or do anything. Here we can just, oh, that works too. They're trying to just catch up on cards. I'm actually surprised they didn't attack with exactly this, but that's okay. But now we get to just stay up on cards. We know that our draw potential is much better than their draw potential, and they have to tap effectively 4 mana and lose life just to do the thing that we just get to tap 4 mana to do. So we don't really need to like press buttons or start doing too much of anything. We can just chill. And yeah, look at this. Like, this is insane for us. And that's actually fine. So what we did there was, instead of using like Mausoleum Wanderer to counter their Murderous Rider spell like we normally would, we actually wanted them to take the 2 life from Murderous Rider resolving. So all we did was just sacrifice Selfless Spirits and make our team indestructible, which effectively countered this, but they still had to take 2 life since their spell did technically resolve. And now that they're at 9, look at this. Whap. Just go ahead and kill them dead. So yeah, so that's a pretty great little look for us, and we did get to beat some very good decks. Like, we beat right now the best deck in a row. I'm sorry, the best deck twice, and a very good deck in our Spirits opponent, and now we're 3-0. Alright, so we got round 4, and we're coming off of a fresh 3-0, so this is pretty nice. But this one is actually a lot of the same scenarios where we had the other one. So what we want to do ideally for our lands is play this tapped on turn 1, since we don't have any 1-drops, this on turn 2, and then this on turn 3 as a white source, and that'll let us play pretty much anything we want. So we've got 2 of these, and the fact that this is a slow draw I think is offset by these. But we also have perfect mana, so we can play anything we want, including a Skyclave if we draw one of those. So, oh, and we're playing against Mono-Black again, so let's see what actually happens here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take that 1 fresh damage here. We got Shacklegeist, that's fine. We can't block and don't want to, so that's whatever. Oh, but they kill it anyway, so let's see what happens here. So now we've got this plus Counterspell mana, which I actively enjoy. For that reason. That's nice. So yeah, so we're going to go ahead and block this one here. So we got Collected Company here and another company. So this is pretty nice all around. So we are going to try to roll into Counterspell. We don't, but we do roll into Shacklegeist. So that's still pretty good. And we'll take the 2 for this, but we definitely don't want this guy attacking for any reason. Whoa, too fast. So here, this is a really good look, though. So now they're down to just 1 card, 2 when they draw. But we've got Spectral Sailor plus Skyclave makes for another ability to tap Shacklegeist. And this is all a pretty good look here. So we're going to put our Spectral into play, tap Dread Wanderer down so they can't attack us, or revive Soak Champion. And this is fine. Like, we don't necessarily care too much about what's happening here. So we've got just a crap ton of attacking damage. That takes them down to what, 1? Yeah. And yeah, so what are they going to do about all of this? So they go ahead and pack it up, and just like the other 2 rounds, we're going to sideboard into those nice Isolates, Settles, Gideons, and, well, hopefully this is just as easy as of a game as the other ones that we've seen so far. So here, this is actually not that bad. So ideally what we want to draw is like a blue-green land, so that we can play this as a white source on turn 1, isolate whatever it is they get rid of here, play this on turn 2 if we draw into a blue source of any sort, and then if we draw exactly a blue-green land, that'll let us play this as another white source to play this on turn 3. So that at least is the goal. Okay, and they did mulligan. Oh, hey, look at us go. We got exactly a blue-green land, too. So that's on us. That's a mistake. What we should have done was wait until the end of turn to see if they were going to play one of these before deciding that we needed to use Isolate. But honestly, whoa. Okay. So we collect the company into Selfless and Imperium, which is pretty nice, so we get to block that for free. So let's take that yummy creature, and we're gonna just like put that into the exile, so that, or not into exile, we're gonna sacrifice it rather than let it be exiled, so that they at least don't see our hand. But we're gonna be up pretty far on cards here because we have the Spectral Sailor and they just don't. So now we get to play Selfless, start attacking, And we're all the way at 12. So that's obnoxious, though. We don't really want to see that. So what we're really digging for here is just like a way to remove this. So we do have access to what, 3 more Skyclave apparitions. We also have access to settle the wreckage in case this thing starts attacking like that. So that sucks. So what we wanted to do here, because either way we're going to lose our Selfless Spirit, was sacrifice it so that we at least don't lose the 2 life there. But Supreme Phantom is going to help us keep up with the lifelink here. So while this is getting pretty close, this is not just gravy for them. Yeah, so that land is not really doing us any favors either. So let's see what we draw into here. Another land. Perfect. That's nice, though. I do like that. I don't like drawing the card main phase because even if we drew another 1-drop and we know that we only have 2 more 1-drops in the whole deck, that wouldn't have done us any good. So I don't think I like that play that I made there. We could have instead used this on their turn to potentially dodge a discard effect. Granted, they shouldn't have discard effects in their deck anyway, but we could have still played around them. And here, this is where they pack it up, because like Skyclave is gonna kill this thing, and that's gonna negate their entire ability to block any of what's happening here. And we're attacking for what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and they don't know about this yet, so we're gonna end up attacking for like what, 14 or 15 or something crazy. But yeah, good stuff to us, and we are now 4-0. Alright, so we got round 5, and ooh, we won a die roll, which is nice. But what do we got going on here? So we don't have any 1-drops, which is honestly fine. But for 2-drops, we have good into great into extra fantastic if we draw 1 more land somewhere. So this is still a pretty good look from here. And they played green-white tap land, so honestly we don't really know what that's doing. Oh, but if they're going to be stuck on 1 land, we're not going to bolt the bird, but we're definitely going to kill the elf. So let's go ahead and do that. And, well, they got us. Alright, so now we're pretty sure that they're just playing like the Winota deck, but this is a relatively slow start from them, though, so we can deal with this. So we can go ahead and, yeah, Spell Queller this thing, and as long as they don't get one of these Legion War Boss starts, then honestly, life is not that bad for us. So we don't mind taking this, though. And here we're going to try to roll into... Okay, so we do not roll into... Oh, what's the 2-mana thing? Or Apparition is what I was looking for. But we have Shacklegeist right in hand, though, so we're not ultra worried, but like... Oh, and we got a Skyclave anyway, so that's nice. So we get to Skyclave 1, Shacklegeist the other, and I think I actually did that wrong. I probably should have Skyclaved this thing so that they don't have double damage, and then Shacklegeist Winota, but I don't know, I was more scared of any potential mess if they survive this turn somehow. So, but they don't survive this turn, so we're going to go ahead and move on to game 2. Alright, so we got game 2. We know that we are against Naya Winota, and what do we got going on here? So this hand doesn't have any white sources or too much early interaction, to be honest, but I still decide that this is a capable hand. Probably just because I didn't want to mulligan it, but a Lofty Denial is not that bad. And we actually got kind of lucky because that was not a... Oh, duh, I know why. Duh, they mulliganed. So, that makes more sense. So if they're going to mulligan pretty deep, then we can keep a playable hand with a tap creature and a collected company versus almost anything they do, because shy of like turn 1 elf, turn 2 Legion War Boss, turn 3 Winota, and I don't know, not have to worry about being counterspelled or anything like that, then this hand was actually pretty playable against the mulligan. So that's why I kept that. That makes more sense. So here we're just gonna take that damage, deal with it, cry about it, and we are definitely countering up P and Kieran. That card is nuts. That is not a card I want to see on the other side of the table. So we do need to be a little worried about their attacks or anything, but they do currently have a non-human creature, so we're at least gonna try for the free block, and we get it. So they do get another Season Hallowblade, but to be honest, that's annoying but not full scary. So we decide that we don't want to take the 3 and we don't mind making them discard. That's kind of gross, but okay. Oh, I know why we did that. So what we wanted to do was try to collect the company into a Skyclave, but we do not get it. This time we do, but now we've rolled 2 different collected companies into exactly 1 creature apiece, so that was a little sad. But we have a 3rd company and instant speed Shacklegeist plus Queller, so that's really nice. And we're going to do exactly that. So let's go ahead and tap down that Season Hallowblade so we can stop worrying about it. And then here, since we know that we have Coco too, oh, I don't know why we didn't. Oops. What we wanted to do there was at end of turn also use Shacklegeist to tap down one of their Thopters, but here it's relatively safe since we do have Coco plus the Spectral Sailor that we just played. So here we get to just absolutely wreck them thanks to Shacklegeist just doing all of the work here. And Skyclave getting rid of P and Kieran after countering a P and Kieran was also really good because this card has the ability to do some very, very solid work against our deck. But yeah, we got to play against and honestly kick the crap out of the format's best deck 3 times in a row. We got to play almost a mirror, and we ended up winning that over the course of 3 games. And another pretty scary deck, this Winota deck, we just ended up kind of schooling them because honestly, this deck loses to itself a lot, and we'll notice that through the mulliganing and through some of the slightly clunky draws that were just weak to 1 counter spell and 1 removal spell. That let us do a lot of really solid work. So great job to us on a 5-0, and I look forward to seeing y'all on the next video.